Welcome back, folks, to 1836 Outdoors. We've got a special guest here today, Mr. Asa Evans. Appreciate you stopping by, man.
Happy to be here.
Do a little fishing, talk some fishing today,
Yes, sir.
if that's all right. Tell us where you're from, Mason.
I'm born and raised Palestine, Texas. Lived there my entire life, so
Man, East Texas, born and raised.
born and raised.
Right on,
Haven't
man.
left. Don't plan on leaving.
10-4. Nothing wrong with that at all, man. You know, we brought you on the show today because you come to the store quite a bit with us and seen you around, even sold a couple boats to you. And, man, we know you know some stuff about bass fishing. And, you know, I'm kind of the catfish guy, and Taylor does some crappie stuff. You know, so we want to have you on to talk some bass fishing with us today. And you've had some recent success
Yeah, a little
lately,
bit.
you know.
Had some pretty good success lately.
Yeah. Would you have third place last weekend, just you and your wife messing around
Yeah,
on
we had
everything?
a little old, just a little tournament on Palestine last weekend. We finished in third.
Nice.
Had 15, 16 pound bag. And it was a good weekend.
Not too
Made
bad.
a little money.
Heck yeah. And you got, what, first place in the JC Outdoors 2-day championship tournament in
did.
Tyler a couple weeks ago?
We did win the championship.
Nice.
It was a good weekend.
Boy, I bet that felt good.
Oh, it felt great.
Heck yeah. Tell us about that day, that final day there.
Final day was a struggle. It was completely different from the day before. We had actually left the fish we had found on Saturday so we could have them Sunday, and we only managed to get 3 out of a pocket.
Wow.
And when you're looking for that, fourth and fifth fish, it got pretty intense. So.
What were some of the weather conditions like?
Saturday morning, it was cold. The cold front had blown in Friday. We woke up Saturday to it being, I think it was mid-50s, low 50s.
The water temp?
Well, no, the air temp.
Okay.
The water temp was still low 70s. So from there it got warmer throughout the day, of course, but if anything we had found in practice, it was eliminated Friday. So.
So what was the water clarity?
Clarity on the water was, it wasn't bad. It was light, maybe lightly stained.
Yeah. That's not bad. There's always something that whenever I think about tournament bass fishing, I did some bass fishing growing up with my dad, just very little. I don't remember a lot, but I always admire you guys, how you guys can change with the conditions. And, how do you adapt this time of year whenever you're going from a warm late summer into a frequent cold front? How does that change up your game and your strategy?
Well,
and what do you do?
I practiced for 2 days, just before the tournament, and obviously with the weather changing, we knew that everything we had was going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first things I always look for in a cold front is to fish brush.
Okay.
And the fish, brush piles or brush around docks or something like that. Them bass, they love to get up against hard objects. So
Squeezing tight.
squeezing tight, get comfortable, and good ambush points. But turns out that's not what we found on Saturday. We found they actually went to looking for warmer water.
Okay.
Because with the temperature dropping that Friday, they went to looking, pushing up shallow and wanting to find anything that would, give them some warmth. Well, it just so happened that Saturday morning we started on a point.
Yeah.
We fished our way through this point, and I happened to hang my bait in some grass and pulled it through. And when I picked the grass off my bait, I looked at my partner and I said, "Hey man," I said, "this grass is warm." The actual grass was hot, not hot, but just
Yeah,
warm.
you can tell the temperature. Yeah.
So I said, "Let's go up here and start in this grass line and see what happens." Well, that's when
That's a nice adjustment right there. Nice little catch there.
That's when it started.
That's cool.
We moved up onto some shallow, thick grass, and they were there.
So I guess it's just like any other kind of fishing. The fish go where they're comfortable, and if you can figure out where that's at, you got a chance.
One of the big things I look for is bait. Obviously, if the bait drastically moves on them, they're going to go with it.
Okay.
So they're just like any other predator. They're going to go for food.
That makes sense. Okay.
With the grass being warm and the water temp and everything changing and everything changing drastically that Friday, sure the bait went to moving up shallow as well, and that's what pushed them up with it.
Okay. That makes sense, you know. Man, I gotta ask you. So, if you had only one bait in the tackle box and y'all was fishing the tournament and everybody had the same rules, what's the one bait you would use if you could only use one? You know, if you could change colors, but just one style, what would that be?
That's kind of hard.
Well, it's, you know, I'm just curious, you know.
If I had just one bait, what time of year?
All
This time of
season,
year,
what's
you know.
your go-to?
Yeah, I mean, you know,
Everybody's got a go-to.
My absolute go-to favorite bait to throw is a chatterbait, hands down. I mean,
Okay.
it's a fish catching machine. I throw it in several different colors, but I keep it simple. But I do love throwing a chatterbait.
and the chatterbait's what is
It's
like
all
a
it
jig?
is. It is a bladed jig. That's
Okay.
all it is. It's a jig with a blade on it. You reel it, and I mean you'll feel the vibration through the rod, and then when it stops,
Something's there.
something's there.
Okay.
Okay.
I've heard chatterbaits. I never fished them. I mean, we use spinner baits and top water stuff and pop-ars and all that good
Yeah.
stuff, and even rattle trap. But I never threw a chatterbait.
Yeah, chatterbait, and I mean it's gained it's gained a lot of success in the years for being a big fish bait. And
Okay. Okay. All right. Cool. So chatterbait's your go-to. I know Taylor had a couple questions he wanted to ask you too. You know.
What rod setup do you have? I mean, how do you have a rig?
I have probably 15 to 20 different rod setups. I mean,
Wow.
the ones I use regularly, I mean, obviously I use a worming rod, which is a 7'2"
Mm-hmm.
or a 7-foot medium heavy with a 7.5 to 1 gear ratio reel, and
That's fine.
yeah, something to move through the water quick.
Yeah.
If one of the things you want when using that type of setup is be able to get line quickly back to you, so if the fish moves with the bait.
Okay.
But-
Okay. That makes sense.
So do you have a specific kind of brand?
I'm
that-
100%. I use nothing but Kistler rods, and also making the move to using Kistler reels that are now coming out.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
I know those.
It's not really been released to the industry yet. So,
Nice.
so,
You got a little inside track
on
there.
it.
That's cool.
But I will be using nothing but Kistler rods and reels next season.
Nice.
Right now, I have been using Kistler rods with loose reels, but things are changing.
You're gonna
so
make the change.
make the change.
All right. That ain't nothing wrong with that at all. Speaking of, changing the reels, you probably have to change the line. How often do you change the line?
I change my line regularly, pretty often. And it depends on the type of structures I fish.
Uh-huh.
If we're fishing heavy brushed areas, then I'm gonna be changing my line every trip.
Really?
Really? That often?
Well, with different
Makes
types
sense.
of lines, I mean, some of them, they're easier to break.
Well, that's a lot more work than us catfishermen. I change it once a season.
Yeah, well,
If it's been laying in the back of
mean,
the truck and I got sunlight on it, I might do it again. But
I might go. Some reels that I don't use as often, they might go, a month or two.
gotcha.
For the most part, I definitely change it before every big tournament or every tournament I have coming up.
Okay. And that's a lot more often than I'd have figured. I'm glad I asked that question because I just remember that when I was a kid, changing the line with my dad. We'd be in the living room. It'd be dark outside, and he'd bring everything inside, and we'd work on it in the living room, tying knots and putting the right baits here and there.
Yeah.
And, that was part of the fun for me.
Well,
Yeah.
I incorporate my kid with it, and I got him with a Phillips head screwdriver and spool of line. I'm like, hold the line, make
Yeah.
it like a kite, and I'm over here trying to reel it.
Yeah. Everybody's got to learn how to do that too. You bet. Do you use any fluorocarbon stuff?
I do. I use fluorocarbon on several different baits. I use it on all my Texas rigs,
Okay.
any type of a football jig or just a jig.
Mm.
It depends again on what we're fishing. I mean, if we're fishing heavy grass, it's like real matted and stuff, I'll use a braided line or monofilament. I mean, fluorocarbon is, it is easy to break.
Okay, so it's not quite as strong as
It's
regular mono.
It's as strong as mono, but it's just not as it's abrasive. It is easy to chip,
Okay.
and you rub it against the side of a stump or something. it's gonna leave a little chip in that line.
I
So.
got you. Okay. I've always wondered about fluorocarbon. I don't use it in catfishing at all, but I've always, wondered, what is it about the fluorocarbon that made people jump on that bandwagon and start really pushing it?
It's, I mean, the fish
Yeah.
supposedly can't see
It just
it.
makes it invisible to them.
It is supposed to be invisible. So.
May have to try something.
So with the different rods and different baits, do you have different test lines?
I do. I'll have, even, so, a lot of the tournaments, I'll have two Texas rig rods set up with one with 20-pound fluorocarbon, the other with 16. Just certain situations, I'll pick up one of the other, throw it, and maybe the water's a little clearer. I'll go to a lighter line, so just they can't see it as good. But
do you go a little bit heavier with the fluorocarbon just because it can chip
with
than a regular line?
with like Texas rig, I like to use a heavier line because of the hook set, and you're putting power into the fish. So, my monofilament line, I use simply 15-pound.
Okay.
And that's top waters and
I got you.
even I'll even throw chatterbaits and stuff on it. So
Okay. Heck yeah. Always, we always use 12-pound Berkeley trolley.
that's good line.
Berkeley makes a good line.
Berkeley makes.
I've moved around on my lines over the years, but I end up going back to Berkeley every time.
I use Sunline's FC Sniper on my fluorocarbon. I'll use Berkeley Big Game. It's
Yep.
cheap, and I
It's
know
good line.
it works.
It's good line.
Bet.
It works.
You're right.
And then I'll use a Power Pro braid.
Okay, yeah, I remember some of that. Use some of that on my catfish stuff, and I
Yeah.
used to use it. I don't do it much anymore. But okay, all right. So, I think you just wanted to talk to him about boats, wouldn't you?
Well, since we're boat salesmen, we're boat guys, we got to get down to what kind of bass boat you got, and how do you have it rigged, and what electronics do you have on it, and how does that pose an advantage in your fishing game?
I do run a Nitro Z8. I have about everything I could possibly afford on it.
Right.
I run two Hummerbird 12-inch headless graphs. I think I'm going to upgrade next year to even get to the if they come out with a live.
Yeah, it's got to be coming.
Yeah, I think the industry, that's where it's completely.
Do you
headed.
feel like if you don't have that as a tournament fisherman, do you
Yes.
feel like you may be getting behind?
Yeah, you are.
It's that.
I truly believe the guys
True.
that are, you look at the most of the pros are definitely using
Yeah.
some type of form of a big craft. Or they're running something that, gives them some type of advantage to help them in the, what they want to do.
It's all about finding the fish and
It
seeing
is.
what's out there.
And I run, I run a Minn Kota Ultrex
Yeah.
pilot.
That's a game changer.
Spot lock, that is a huge game changer.
Big game changer.
And power poles. I've enjoyed my nitro boat. So
Let me ask you this. Since you've gotten the iPilot trolling motor, has it made it to where you don't use your power poles as much?
I honestly, I say no. I use my power poles quite often.
Yeah, okay.
When I'm shallow water fishing, I'm using power poles.
Gotcha.
You put them down, and you're quiet. You're just sitting there. You don't have to worry about moving.
Uh-huh.
Now, when I'm in deeper water, 10 to 15 foot, that Ultrex is going to get a lot of use for the spot lock.
Probably don't want to use it in shallow because that trolling motor
That trolling motor will turn.
causing
And
cavitation,
I
making
found
noise.
that out when I
Yeah.
bought it originally.
Mhm.
It was, you could try to get up there to look at a fish on the bed or something. It's the head of the unit and everything's gonna sit there and turn.
Mm-hmm. Moving around, making noises.
Yeah,
It makes sense.
That don't help a lot. So
I use one in my boat for catfishing, and it's almost all the time completely in deeper water.
yes,
Every once in a while I fish in shallow water, but man, it's such a game changer. Not just the spotlight, but the heading.
yes,
You
yes.
know, if you're fishing that one ridge line and it's 17 foot of water and you're hitting at 15, you just want to stay on that bad boy and you can just walk it right now.
Yeah, it's
Control your speed, I love it, man.
it's a good.
It's
troll.
almost the best thing since sliced bread for fishing and
Yeah,
boat control.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. And there's other companies now trying to compete with it and
Uh-huh.
stuff, but
They do a good
Ultrex,
job.
the Ultrex is already getting its kinks and everything worked out.
Yeah, it's been on the block long enough now
Yeah.
that they're starting to get through all that. That's a good point, you know. And linking them together, linking that to your fish finder. And have you used any of that stuff? where you're
I
actually
haven't
communicating
linked.
it?
I haven't linked. I probably will next season,
Okay,
simply because I put the graphs on this year and I just
Okay.
wanted to run them.
just get out there and,
Yeah.
and do the thing.
But I'm probably
Makes
going to
sense.
link everything this year. I'm, you know, looking at possibly maybe even picking up the Raptors, the new, you know, shallow water anchors by Minko.
See, I didn't even know about them when I saw the stuff.
Yeah. So.
Cool. All right. I know you guys out there tournament fishing. Y'all stay on the edge of all the new stuff.
You got to.
You know,
I mean,
see what's
if you really
coming.
want to, in my opinion, you really want to compete, you got to.
Makes sense. I like hummingbird too. I love it. It's simple to use.
It is.
For me, once you use it, if you try anything else, you're just like trying to learn a new language.
Yes.
To me,
Yeah. I'm the same way with it.
but you gotta have it. I mean, once you have it, you can't go back. You
Yeah.
feel lost.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, I don't know what I did before I had
Right,
it.
yeah. Which is opposite from what Taylor does, because Taylor really likes the simple, simplistic fishing styles. I mean, that's what you
Yeah,
enjoy.
I mean,
Yeah.
the way I grew up fishing is, you know, that was before all the technology. I'm talking going back 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, you got the old school, you know,
Flasher?
flasher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and back in those days, if you had a flasher, you're good. But you know, we look for structure, boathouses, grass beds. You know, you look for channels. It's kind of trying to fish without the electronics. But
Yeah.
nowadays, everything's gotten so electronic geared. It's now hard, like you said, to compete because you know it makes it tougher because you've got more of an edge.
Yeah.
I always thought it'd be cool if a company would come out and do like a lease program for that stuff because it's changing so fast.
Yeah.
You know, you sink $3,000 into it for a trolling motor, and then the next year, because somebody else comes out with something different, and you're like, well, I got to ride this out for a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that would be a cool niche for somebody to do. Maybe somebody out there can do that, but I ain't got time for it. But yeah, I mean, boat control, good imaging units, good gear. I mean, that's it, man.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I mean, it helps. And same thing, I mean, you look back 10, 15 years, we didn't have a lot of almost any of this.
Right, yeah.
And I mean, I grew up the same way, just learning to just,
Hopping in a John boat,
you know, just getting after it.
go out
And
there. Yeah.
When I finally stepped into tournament fishing, I realized, you know, I could fish, but it would help to have these things.
Right.
So that's where I started
Gain that
bringing
in.
it in. Yeah.
Makes sense. Heck yeah. So, hey, so what's the biggest bass you've caught so far?
Caught-
Not necessarily in a tournament, but your
I
personal.
caught a 1075
That's a walker right there.
and I caught a 998 the same night.
Really?
I caught the 998 first, and about an hour later, throwing that chatterbait.
Okay, I was about to ask you, was it
Caught
on
it.
the chatterbait? Yeah, okay.
Caught
All right.
a 1075.
What lake was that?
That was a secret lake.
A secret lake. Okay.
Yeah, no.
10 foot, 10 foot. With a secret spot.
Yeah, that I like to say it was a good night.
There you go.
But
Nothing wrong with that, man. I've caught a 6-pound bass and it was on a spinnerbait, and I've caught big catfish, but those bass, they dart, you know, and they duck and they dive, and they're just, I mean, you got to hang on, you know.
Yeah, you
it's
got-
like a video game almost, like up, down, left, and right, you know. It's
yeah,
awesome.
just keeping up with it.
You bet. So I have to ask you, why bass? What is it about bass, the largemouth bass itself, that drew you to going after the bass? Or
Well-
say something like what I do.
Obviously, I mean, I was kind of brought into bass fishing. My dad he was an avid bass fisherman.
Okay.
He fished as much as possible, and you know, when I started going, that's what we were going to do. We were going to bass fish, and obviously the fight, they fight hard. They don't like to be caught. I mean, anything like that. I mean, it's going to be fun, and then, tournament fishing is also, it's fun, it's intense, it's, you know, you never know when something good could happen, or you don't
Yeah.
never know when the day's going to completely get ruined. So,
I guess.
I mean, it's, you know, it's just a lot of fun to me.
This is just like an 8-hour adrenaline rush.
It is.
All
It
time.
is for me.
Yeah, I'm curious because I've never done any tournament fishing except when I was tiny. You know.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know,
There's got to be something about that that keeps drawing you guys to it, and
Yeah.
that's what I was curious about, to share with everybody. Because
I mean, it's
I don't
a
know.
cool feeling when you know you got a good bag.
Yeah.
And you're walking up and you're like, I wonder if we're gonna win this. Or,
Yeah.
and then you realize, oh well, maybe not. I mean,
Kind of like scratching a lottery ticket.
Yeah,
or
I
something,
mean,
but a little more fun.
it's kind of a gambling
Okay.
situation.
So, being a tournament fisherman, I know almost all tournaments nowadays are doing catch and release. I mean, you're releasing the fish back, right? Most of the time, if you can, if possible.
Yeah,
That's what
unless
everybody's trying to do.
unless the fish dies at the weigh-in
Right.
or something, and don't get, it'll be kept, given
Yeah.
to somebody to eat or something. But
Okay. That's what I was going to ask you next. So, how do you feel about other fishermen like keeping bass to eat them? Is that
I'm actually fine with it.
Okay.
I mean, it's obviously hard if somebody pulls out a 6 or 7 pound fish out of a lake that's struggling and then
Uh-huh.
takes it to eat it. But I really don't have a problem.
it doesn't just get under your
No,
skin?
there's a lot of guys that eats up and stuff,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, they'll respect my game. I'll respect theirs. I mean,
Understood. Okay.
do I believe that it can hurt a lake? I do. I mean, you've seen what's happened to Toledo Bend over the last, 5 to 6 years.
Share that, because
Well, I mean, like Toledo Bend was, regularly putting out, giant sacks of fish, and
Okay.
and a lot of the locals started pulling the fish out of the lake, and you're seeing the numbers decrease drastically. So,
Okay.
I mean,
They're taking the big fish home, and it's hurt the overall population of the lake. Is it just something about the bass species itself, or they just get stressed?
I think it's a big part of the stress. I see a lot of
Yeah.
artificial lures. I see, people removing them and stuff. It does hurt the fishing.
Yeah.
I mean, it does.
That's something to consider. Very seldom I even catch a bass, but sometimes I'll catch one, accidental, or sometimes I troll just to do something different, not tournament style, but we'll catch one when I'm trying to chase hybrids or white bass,
Yeah.
and we'll catch one, if it's within length, I ain't scared to take it home, but I probably wouldn't take the big one. I don't keep the big cats. I let them go.
I mean, it's
there's
kind
smaller
of
ones
them
that eat,
things
but
like
big
you,
ones.
you kill a big deer, you can't expect it to taste as good as the younger deer.
There you go.
just can't.
That's a good way to keep. I like that. I'll be sure you remember that.
Now, if it's a wall hanger, that's a whole different story. If it's
So-
going to go on your wall,
Yeah, how
it
do
could
y'all-
be the
how do you
biggest
do
fish you
that?
ever
I
caught
mean-
in your
Well,
life.
I mean, they've gotten now where you can just do a replica mount,
Yeah.
and the fish can still be released.
Take your measurements. What they call it? CPR.
Yeah,
Catch,
catch,
photograph, release.
Release.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I've
Yeah.
got 2 fish, the 10 and the 9 from that night that I'm still waiting to get replicas done on. We
Okay.
got plenty of photos. We got the weight and length and
All the
everything.
measurements.
That's
Yeah.
just waiting on the cash.
I hear
flow
you,
to
man.
get
Hey, you
in.
keep on doing tournaments like that, it won't be long.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Do they ever give that stuff away, like for an award? Be like, hey,
Some
second
tournament
place or
trails,
something like that, you get a free
yeah,
mount. or
some
something?
tournament trails will do a mount just
That's
as
cool.
a giveaway if somebody caught a big fish. And I mean, none of the trails I fish do, but that's something.
Yeah, I caught that big catfish this year, and I went to go price a mount, and it was like 700.
Yeah.
I was like, well, we're just gonna stick with a picture for now.
Yeah,
You
it's
know.
kind of the way I went.
Maybe someday we'll get there, but okay. Yeah, I usually throw them back to it, but I'm just curious. Well, that's about it for this week's show. Mason, man, thanks for coming by.
Thank y'all for
You
having
know,
me. I
go
gotta
on. Go
gotta
ahead.
say though, I gotta give a big shout out to my partner Roy. I mean,
Okay,
he fished
yeah.
with me in the tournament,
Absolutely.
and we've over the last 2 years we've gotten real close, and he makes a great net man some days, and some days I make a great
Right.
net man.
That's a big part of that tournament fishing
Yeah.
is having somebody that
You can link
kinda-
with good.
Yes, sir.
That's
You got it.
something I learned. So.
Good
Yeah,
deal.
a big shout out to Roy for.
Is he from around here too?
Yeah, he's from. He's around the Palestine area. He's
Okay.
he's a good friend. We started fishing. I met him through a club and a club tournament trail, and he called me I guess a couple years back and just said, "Hey man, you want to fish this with me?" And we haven't turned around since.
There you
It's
go.
nothing but getting after him.
Well, good. That's good. Congratulations on y'all's win. And hey, next time if he wants to come on the show, you want to drag him up there, bring him on. More than merrier. The way I talk about it, Thank y'all for watching the show once again. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube and Anchor Podcast too. We're on there as well. And that's it for this week. Y'all have a great week. Stay safe out there. Pick up your trash.
Get her dead.
Get her dead. Appreciate it, Jason.
No problem.
Thanks.
Thank you.